You can't see through the camera? Yeah, you may want to move. The camera has to stay. This is my good side. When you do this. There you go. All right, so as I was saying, when you're solving for a variable that's squared, if it's the only squared term like this, then you want to get it by itself. Isolate the squared term and then take the square root. If it's in binomial, a squared binomial, we're still going to isolate the squared term. Again, once again, the binomial here, two values in a sum or difference surrounded by parentheses, right? So we would call this a squared binomial. We don't want to expand this. Having it simplified in this form is actually easier to deal with because I can isolate just this part and then go and then take the square root, right? So if I divide everything here by 2 and divide here by 2, I'll have x minus 3 squared equals 36. And still, because this is the only squared value, the squared quantity in this function, or in this equation, should I say, we don't want to expand that. Expanding this would give us one of those quadratic trinomials, and then solving that, setting that equal to 0, it's a huge mess. We have this, we can take the square root of something. If it's the only thing on that, the only thing, great words there, if it's the only value that's squared on one side, take the square root. If there's only one value over here, take the square root. It gets complicated if there's more stuff. If there's another x term on either side, that's what we're going to talk about when we're completing the square. But right now, because we have something squared and a singular value here, we're going to take the square root of both sides. Now we get x minus 3 equals positive and negative 6. Right? When you take the square root of an integer, you will include its positive and negative values. And from here we can add 3. So basically what we're doing is we have 6, we have negative 6, we're adding 3 to both of these. So we get x equals 9 and negative 3. Questions? Again, I'm going to go back up to this just to summarize this. You want to isolate the square term if it's the only term that has that variable. So this is a quantity with x that is squared. It's the only term that has that variable. I can get that by itself. And when I get it by itself, I want to make sure I only have one other integer over here. If there isn't, we got a different scenario. Right?